Picture this. You're the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. You won a landslide election less than 2 years ago with one of the biggest majorities in modern history. You had everything ahead of you. And now you're apparently hiding from your own MPs like a student avoiding their dissertation supervisor because you know you haven't done the work. That's the extraordinary claim being made about Keir Starmer right now. According to Conservative MP Esther McVey, the Prime Minister isn't just struggling, he's actively going to ground, dodging his own backbenchers who are apparently plotting a full-scale revolt. We've got talk of leadership challenges, names being floated as replacements, and a Prime Minister described as universally disliked and totally irrelevant. Welcome to UK Political Insight, where we watch political careers implode in real time. And today we're diving into whether Starmer's premiership is entering its death throes, or whether this is just opposition wishful thinking. Either way, it's absolutely brutal. Right, let's start with who's making these claims, because context matters. Esther McVey is a Conservative MP and Express columnist, so we need to acknowledge she's not exactly an unbiased observer. She's literally paid to criticize labor. But here's the thing. Even accounting for political bias, the specific claims she's making are detailed, they're about internal labor dynamics, and they paint a picture that aligns with other reporting we've been seeing. So while we should take this with appropriate skepticism, we shouldn't dismiss it entirely just because it comes from the opposition. McVey appeared on the Daily Espresso podcast and absolutely unloaded on Starmer, with the kind of comprehensive character assassination that would make Shakespeare proud. She claimed the Prime Minister tried to stage a comeback at the start of 2026 after months of disasters. She called it a Save Starmer relaunch, which is possibly the most damning phrase you can use about a leader barely 18 months into their term. When you're already at the Save the Leader stage, before you've even hit the 2-year mark, something has gone catastrophically wrong. But according to McVey, the relaunch failed spectacularly. She says Starmer has proved to be totally irrelevant, both at home and abroad, and out of touch with what's actually happening in the world. Now, totally irrelevant is a brutal assessment for any prime minister, but for one who came in promising transformational change and national renewal, it's absolutely devastating. You can survive being disliked, you can even survive being wrong, but you can't survive being irrelevant, because irrelevance means nobody cares what you think or do. McVey then made some specific foreign policy claims that are particularly interesting. She said Starmer is being frozen out of major international events, pointing to how he appeared to have been sidelined after President Trump's actions in Venezuela and threats regarding Greenland. Now, whether Starmer is actually being frozen out or whether he's choosing not to engage is debatable, but the perception that Britain's Prime Minister isn't a major player on the world stage is politically damaging regardless of the reality. Then comes the knockout punch. McVey delivered what she probably thinks is a career-ending assessment. He is universally disliked, and his tactic is to hide from his MPs, hide from the media, and hide from the electorate. Universally disliked. That's the kind of description you'd use for a historical villain, not a sitting prime minister. And the 3-part accusation of hiding from MPs, media, and voters creates a picture of a leader who's basically given up on the core functions of political leadership. When asked specifically about labor backbenchers, McVey claims Starmer is deliberately avoiding his own MPs. She pointed to his response on Venezuela, which apparently provoked fury from multiple labor MPs. According to McVey, Starmer stayed out of the way and let Home Secretary Yvette Cooper take the lead instead of fronting up himself. She suggested this is because Starmer is too weak to condemn U.S. military action in Venezuela because he wants to be friends with Trump. Now, this is where we need to parse what's actually being alleged here. If Starmer is genuinely avoiding his own backbenchers, that's a sign of serious political weakness. MPs are your power base. They're the people who can make or break your premiership. If you're hiding from them, it means you either can't face their criticism or you have no answers to their concerns. Neither is a good look for a prime minister with a massive majority. The Venezuela situation is interesting because it highlights a genuine dilemma for Starmer. Trump has taken military action that many on the Labor left would naturally oppose, but Starmer needs to maintain a working relationship with the U.S. president. So what does he do? According to McVey, he bottles it and hides, while Cooper handles the messaging. If true, this isn't leadership. This is political cowardice dressed up as delegation. McVey then really twisted the knife, claiming Starmer doesn't have guiding principles and doesn't know what to do. This is possibly the most damaging accusation you can make against a political leader. You can forgive someone for having principles you disagree with. You can respect someone who knows what they want to do, even if you think they're wrong. But a leader without principles who doesn't know what to do? That's just someone occupying the office without actually leading. The warning that it is now open season, his backbenchers feel they can attack him, is significant because it suggests the normal rules of party loyalty are breaking down. In Westminster, you're supposed to support your leader publicly even if you disagree privately. When backbenchers start openly attacking their own prime minister, it means either they think he's finished anyway, so there's no cost to rebellion, or they're so angry they don't care about the consequences. Either way, it's a death spiral for political leadership. McVey claimed even MPs who had been fiercely loyal to Starmer are reaching breaking point after being forced to defend his constant policy reversals. She said, some of these backbenchers who have been incredibly loyal have suffered Starmer's U-turns. This rings true because we've documented multiple U-turns across multiple policy areas. Imagine being a Labor MP who's gone on local radio defending the winter fuel payment cuts, only for the government to partially U-turn, or defending the pub business rates increase before the government backs down, or explaining the inheritance tax on farms before the policy gets modified. At some point, loyal MPs stop being willing to go to bat for you because they're tired of being made to look like idiots. The rebellion is apparently being fueled by constituent anger, with pub landlords across the country launching campaigns to bar Labor MPs from their premises in protest at business rates hikes. McVey said, you can see the pain they're starting to feel. When your MPs can't even go to their local pub without getting grief, that's a sign the political situation is dire. Pubs are community spaces where MPs traditionally meet constituents in a relaxed setting. If that's becoming hostile territory, MPs are losing one of their key connection points with voters. McVey claimed MPs were beginning to realize they needed to act before it was too late, warning that Starmer was destroying the country. She said she witnessed firsthand the agitation from Labor MPs about their leader's performance in Parliament. Now, we should note that Conservative MPs would love nothing more than Labor internal warfare, so there's obvious incentive to talk this up. But if there's even a grain of truth here, if Labor MPs genuinely are agitated about Starmer's performance, that's a massive problem for the Prime Minister. And then McVey dropped what she probably thinks is a bombshell. She suggested plotting was already underway to replace Starmer, saying, Angela Rayner and Ed Miliband are a combo. She claimed Rayner is plotting against the Prime Minister. Now, leadership speculation is a constant in Westminster, and it's often exaggerated or completely fabricated. But the specific naming of Rayner and Miliband as a potential team is interesting because it suggests McVey has either heard specific gossip or she's making a calculated guess based on factional dynamics. Rayner as Deputy Prime Minister would be the obvious successor in many ways. She's got a different political background to Starmer, more working-class roots, more instinctive connection to traditional Labor voters. If the criticism of Starmer is that he's out of touch and doesn't understand ordinary people, Rayner could position herself as the antidote. Miliband, as a policy brain and experienced politician, could provide the intellectual heft. It's not an implausible combination if you're plotting a leadership challenge. But McVey didn't stop there.
She also suggested Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood or Health Secretary Wes Streeting as potential alternatives. She claimed the Labour MPs were looking to go with these two as candidates who could rescue the party from electoral oblivion. Again, we should be skeptical of Conservative MPs claiming to know Labour's internal plotting, but the fact that specific names are being floated, that there's discussion of who could replace Starmer, suggests this isn't just idle speculation. Streeting in particular has been positioning himself very carefully. He's been one of the more visible ministers. He's been willing to make tough arguments about NHS reform, and he's cultivated a reputation as a straight talker. If you're a Labour MP worried about your electoral prospects, Streeting might look like someone who could actually win back voters. Mahmood is less well known publicly, but has impressed colleagues with her competence and could represent a fresh start. The fundamental question is whether any of this is actually happening or whether it's opposition fantasy projected as fact.